Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Power Up podcast. Before we start today, I just want to wish everyone listening a very Merry Christmas. As you can see, I am wearing my Christmas jumper. I have made an effort. I can't say the same over there. Under Armour, not very Christmassy, but next year, I challenge you to wear, at least match me.
Okay,
Stay
for
in the
sure.
Christmas spirit.
I
Um,
accept the challenge.
But today we should have a shorter podcast since it is Christmas and this time of year is absolutely mad busy. I've had an interview, Ace has had an interview. We're both working until pretty much the end of Christmas. And
hmm
yeah, so it's been a bit mad. We've
Yes.
tried to just cram in when the podcast is this week because when we normally record on a Wednesday, I was busy. I'm going to be busy on Saturdays, so we've had to pretty much cram it in after work one day.
Right? Yeah.
Um, but no, today we have a topic which is about 2024 in the future. We're time travelers, and we're going to talk about what our plans are, what our expectations are. But before we do any of that, Ace, how are you doing today? And how's your week been?
Doing good. Doing good. Like you said, it's busy, so exhausted, but we're doing it. We're there.
Mhm.
Um, had a good week, honestly. I finished up the Valhalla DLC on Ragnarok.
Mhm.
Amazing, like I expected it to be. I said it last week. Santa Monica just they can't miss. It seems. Um, it was much shorter than I thought it would be at the beginning. But it's still super good, and there's still a bunch to do after it. Now it's just kind of like a rinse and repeat, but there's a bunch of challenges and masteries that you can go for, which I will be doing after I finish season 3 of Mortal Kombat Invasions, which I also started this week. I'm about 50% through that, so taking my time, but it's super fun.
Big
Um,
grinding.
Loving this season. What about you? What you been up to this week?
Okay, so for me, start of the week, I continue with my Lies of P New Game Plus journey. Um, I'm not gonna lie though, I've been getting a little bit more frustrated with the bosses. Like the first few chapters, the bosses were a breeze in the New Game Plus. I
hmm
was overpowered, and now it's coming into some of them, like the much harder ones. I was fuming with one of them. And after it, I was just there like, I need to stop playing, and completely went off it. So yeah, that's Lies of P. I think I'm just over halfway of New Game Plus, so hopefully this week I'll be able to get close to the end. Um, but my friends also got back in touch with me. Like we haven't played Formula One in so long, and they finally got back into it. So I've been playing a lot of like online races with them. But my friends don't like doing like the 5 laps. So what we do is we
Okay.
do a 50% of the race. So like instead of it being the full length, which is of an hour and a half, we do the 50% when it's like 45 minutes races, which is a lot. Um, and it's a lot of strategy based. And literally just before this podcast, I was playing. Should have won, but my friend caused the safety car and just forced my strategy out the window, and I came fourth
Yeah.
instead of first. Um, and I also started Power Wash Simulator, which is the PlayStation Plus monthly game. I have to say, it is one of the most satisfying games I've ever played. And then you're shaking your head like you disagree, like you've not played
No,
it.
no, I haven't. It's just wild that it's like in this list of Liza P, F123, God of War Ragnarok, Valhalla, Mortal Kombat 1, and then Power Wash Simulator.
Don't mock it. It's actually so good.
That's fair.
You
That's
can
fair.
play with 6 other people, well, 5 other people. Like it's like imagine you just want to chill out with some friends and you're all there getting rid of some mud, getting rid of some dirt with a jet wash. Have you ever jet washed?
No.
Oh my god, you've not lived. You've not lived. It's one of my favorite things to do. Just absolutely blasting something with a shit ton of water and it going from dirty to clean in an instant. Oh, so satisfying. And of course, I was a mature being drawing a penis on the roof of that game. I was
Of course
mature.
you were. Of
You've
course
just
you
you've
have
got
to.
to.
I feel like if you play that, you have to.
Only once. Like I'm not gonna do it again.
Right.
Now it's been and done. But yeah, that was that was basically my week. I haven't really played much. I know
Yeah.
FC's new season's out, and the rewards for the season are pretty big. They're giving like away like good players, but like their packs are better for like the reward. Like they
Hmm.
have this Centurion icon, 90 rated, but you've also got like a better packs behind it. So like they're trying to tease you with the player.
Right.
Go for the packs. They're the better option. Promise you. And if you don't get the better options, you have your own decisions. Don't blame me.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry. Like I
Coming
can
out
only,
swinging today.
I can only advise you've made the decision. But no, let's actually start with the news then for this week. There's been a lot since
Hmm.
we last spoke. Was like 9 days ago. Uh,
Right.
we've got a lot of news to go through. So like we say it's weekly news. It's basically since we last recorded news.
Yeah.
Just because some of this stuff might have happened over 2 weeks ago by the time you're listening to this, kind of. So
Hmm.
yeah, this is just news that we're talking about since the last time we did a podcast. So let me start. And this links into our podcast one. So if you're listening on YouTube and Spotify, please subscribe and follow us. And in the links, you'll find episodes 1 and episode 2. But the first news is the Game Awards broke its viewing record. It was up 15% from the last year, and they totaled 118 million people watching. That's
That's
insane.
crazy.
That's
That is.
that's a lot of people watching the Game Awards,
Yeah.
and especially since it was on at 12:30 a.m. for Europe, and even
Right.
worse, like that amount of people watching. I don't know if that's was that live or was that
I believe so.
okay. That's a crazy number.
Yeah. It
That
is. And
is
I think I didn't note it down, but I want to say it's the third year in a row, third or fourth year that they've increased. So they just keep getting bigger and bigger in terms of viewership. So I mean, the product's getting better and better too. So it only makes sense.
that is true, and I guess like you mentioned with the celebrities back in the first episode, they're only going to bring more people in as well because their fans are also going to be like, "Oh my god, my favorite actor was in this award show. I'm gonna watch this." Like even if it is
Right.
2 minutes, but then they'll get involved with the Game Awards. So yeah, 118 million. That's mad. I wish they could watch my streams and watch the podcast. Like
Not
imagine that.
wrong.
That would be a life-changing amount of
Right.
watches. Like that's insane.
Even for like a minute, that many people watching for 1 minute, like
I think I'll
it
break
would be.
down. I'll
Think
be
what?
I'd break down. I'll be like, what is going on? Like you think I'd be able to react normally seeing
Oh no.
118 million live viewers? Like I see 20 and I'm happy. Like it's
Right.
static. I'm just there like Jesus. But that's why I used to hide the number of viewers I had in my stream because like if you have more, your energy changes. So
Hmm.
recently when I came back, I haven't, but like I used to just hide it so that my energy level throughout the stream didn't dip if like I saw a dip in viewers and stuff. Because at the end of
Right.
the day, the content that we want to bring is not dependent on how many people are watching. Like,
Right.
so I don't want my energy to be low and then someone new coming in and go, "Oh, okay, this guy's energy is terrible." Like my energy needs to be peak. So
Yeah.
yeah, what would you do if 180 million people watched either your video or watched the live stream?
I'll probably cry. Yeah. I don't think there's a normal way to react to it unless you are like a possible sociopath. I don't think it's such a in the moment thing. Like, and that's just beyond like what I think the brain can comprehend.
Hmm.
It's just like the other way to think about it. Like, just think about 118 million people just standing around you, like watching you play. Like, think about it like that. That is insane.
I don't
Like,
think you'd get 180 million standing around you, and you would be able to see them, even if you're on a
dude,
console, because of the horizon.
you need a
You can only
big
see
screen.
16 miles, mate.
Yeah, so you need a huge screen.
Oh yeah. That's insane. But yeah, Fair Play Game Awards. Hopefully, we'll
Yeah,
be reporting next year that they've beaten that again.
yeah,
That'd be good
right.
for us.
And in some, less fortunate news, um, I guess fortunate if you bought the day before, but Steam is fully refunding all purchases of the day before. Which I has that happened before? I can't think of anything off the top of my head where Steam has just fully across the board refunded all purchases. Like,
Not that I know of, to be honest.
right.
Um,
And
hmm,
I didn't know until I was researching a little bit today too, but it is the first game in I don't know how many years, but that IGN has given just a straight up one. Like IGN gave it a 1 out of 10. They did not do that.
I think that was generous.
Yeah.
It should have been a 0.
Wow.
No,
Yeah.
honestly, I watched some gameplay of that game because I was very interested to see
Hmm.
what the day before was, and like were people just saying it was a 1 out of 10? Was it the worst game ever? Just because they jump on the bandwagon, they see
Right.
that it's a really bad game and they're just there like, yeah, I played it. It was terrible. So I watched the Rad Brad play it.
Hmm.
He done like an hour and a bit on it, and the world was so dead. Like
Really.
it was like an absolute massive city, skyscrapers the lot, and he's just running down these roads like there was nothing there. It was
Yeah.
empty. So like, how are you gonna have this open world? Yes, it's apocalyptic, but like, you'd have zombies filling that space to kill. And I don't know if you saw, but like, he shot like an enemy and they just didn't react until like
Really.
3 shots, and then you saw the blood, and then like it was so delayed. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was terrible.
I got. I only got as far in that video as him trying to log into the server and it crashing so many times, and that's literally all I got into.
Mhm.
Um, but kind of on that point, like, even have you seen the movie I Am Legend
Yeah.
with Will Smith in it? Like, even if you're able to kind of recreate that feeling of like it's a dead city, but there is like something lurking, like you feel like you're being watched. Like, a dead city could work in that sense, but from what you're making it sound like, it's just straight up dead. Like, there's nothing to it. There's no ambient feeling or anything like that.
Mhm.
So
Well,
it's such a mess.
you've got so many buildings and they're not accessible. Like for an open world
Yeah,
game like that, like you should be able to go in. And he was doing some of the jobs, and it was like collect batteries. But like the batteries took up like 6 inventory slots or something like that. You only had like 12. So
really.
like you needed to collect 3. So like, how are you supposed to collect 3 if you didn't have a big enough backpack? Like they just didn't think about it. And like
Yeah.
a water bottle took up 2 slots. What?
So I would say they seem to have taken like an approach where they're gonna make it more difficult, where you have to just put more playtime in and do the basic stuff, which I think it's a horrible way to get people to play your game for longer.
Sure. Yeah. I'm just glad I didn't play the game.
Yeah, right. I'm glad. Yeah, you get that.
But let's move on to a good game now. Please.
Yeah, good game. Um, Very exciting news. They had God, this company thinking about it now. What a roller coaster of like a chunk of the month they've had here. So Insomniac post on X, stating that they have news about New Game Plus. All right. So with the new Game Plus, they revealed that you're going to be able to change the time of day, which I know was a big thing for a lot of people with like photo modes and that kind of thing. Like it'd only be nighttime during certain missions, and you couldn't keep that going. You'll be able to actually replay missions, which is huge now. Um, no ability to do that before unless you failed it. That was the only way to, I guess, replay it, if you even want to call it that. Um, and then there's some other details that I did not include because you have not played the game yet. So I kept them away from here. Stop spoiling, but there's other stuff coming, um, that are relatable after you beat the game. And it's being targeted for an early 2024 release.
Okay.
but I don't know if the next chunk of news affects that release window. I really don't know, but Insomniac got hacked.
Yeah, that is big. Like like, why hack a game studio? Like, there's a lot of more things that you could hack and do more damage, but I guess they said it was an easy target. Like a big company
Right,
like Insomniac under Sony, and it was an
right.
easy target. Like that just scares me.
Mhm.
Like if it was so easy, like what else could they do? Get data. I mean, obviously cyber attacks are going to be more common now as we continue going down this data and technology route in our
Mhm.
world. Like cyber attacks are just going to be more common, so we need to increase security. So like how can we increase it? Because not only their games and stuff were revealed, people's information's going to be revealed, and that's
Right,
never good. Um,
right.
but yeah, the main thing I put was Wolverine. Apparently, a playable alpha build is leaked somewhere.
Mhm.
Um, I am not looking at it. I am staying
Nope.
away. You've mentioned before you're staying away from any spoilers. Um,
Yep.
yeah, I think like if we haven't got much to say on it because we've avoided it.
Right.
Um, it obviously if we were watching it and wanted to see what's next, but I just think that's a really badly how to react to like let me rephrase this. I'd rather read it from Insomniac and watch their trailers from them and support them than watch a leak of it. It's a bit like Rockstar with
Right.
GTA 6. I avoided everything
Mhm.
that was released and waited for Rockstar to publish it on their channel just so they got the view. I mean, they're still going to get the views anyway, but I'd rather see it from them because it's the finishing product. You also
Right.
can't trust the leaks. Like the internet could change anything.
Right.
So still, don't trust everything you read online. They could alter it.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it just sucks. Like, stop hacking our games, man.
Right. Right. And Insomniac has been in kind of a swing where they're a very beloved game studio. They've made a lot of good games in this generation so far. So it was tough to see them go under a cyber attack like that. Because I mean, you touched on it a little bit, just the not even just the games, like that sucks too that they're leaking stuff for that, but it is like legit people's personal info. Like those people are now like they can like be scared just in everyday life because of their information getting leaked. Like it's really scary when you boil it down.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just mind blowing. Like obviously there's crimes out there that are now being able to do just online, like virtually. Like you don't even have to
Yeah.
be next to the person and like your stuff's being robbed. So
Right.
it's scary. It's
Yeah.
very scary.
It's
I,
super
I say
scary.
that with a smile on my face. I don't know why.
Right.
It's not it's just scary. Like
Yeah.
it's unbelievable.
It really is. Yeah. But our next piece of news, the Tekken 8 demo is out now on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. When I noted this down, it was just out on PlayStation. I did play it for about an hour-ish. I just played because I've never played a Tekken up until
Hmm.
the demo, and I played with. They kind of did what Street Fighter 6 did, and they have a control scheme where you can have basic inputs, kind of like Mortal Kombat ish inputs, where it's just like up, down, like a few buttons here and there.
Hmm.
That's what I played, and it's honestly pretty good. It's pretty fun when it comes to a fighter game. I still will take my Mortal Kombat, but Tekken is good. But the demo it has 5 modes, which it does include like the first part of the story mode, which you make your own fighter,
Ah, okay,
kind
that's
of like
cool.
Street Fighter 6. So
Hmm.
I have not touched that yet, but I do plan on playing it at some point. There's 4 fighters that you can play as of right now. You got Paul, Jin, Kazuya, and Mina. And then there's 3 stages. I don't remember what the stages are, but the game looks gorgeous too. All the animations in it looks amazing. Um, but player progression will not carry over. Nothing from this demo will save to the normal game that comes out in about 6 weeks, about 5 weeks now. But yeah, I mean it's big. Tekken's a pretty big franchise, so cool that we're getting I mean, what in the last half a year we've gotten a Street Fighter, a Mortal Kombat, and a Tekken. Those are like the three major fighting
It's
franchises.
mental.
It's good.
Like for me personally, I'm not like fighter. Like that's just not my game style. I
Yeah.
just see like so many games come out. It's just like yeah, there's so many of them. You've got the
Mm-hmm.
like Marvel versus Capcom. You've got the Tekken. You've got Mortal Kombat. You got the Street Fighter. And every single time you could probably put on a bingo card a fighter game revealed, like the next Tekken 9 or Mortal Kombat 20 or Street Fighter 10. Like there's so many of them now. It's like how do they stay fresh? How do they stay unique? Like, how is
Yeah.
it different from the last one? This is me saying this as a sports fan, and I play sports games. They're the same every year. I get it. I'm a hypocrite, but like, how do fighting games change? Because it just seems like it's the same, just different background.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same kind of art style. I think Mortal Kombat's answer apparently is to just reset the timeline every 3 games because MK9, X, and 11 were in the same timeline, and then they just completely wiped it and reset it for this one. But I think that's kind of the big part is the campaign. Like, obviously, the bones of it, like online and that kind of stuff, won't change too much.
Hmm.
But it's a whole new engrossing story every time. And then they try to change the single player stuff as far as I'm aware. Like Street Fighter and Tekken having like modes where you can make your own fighter. I think that's super cool. I
Yeah.
hope Mortal Kombat does that eventually.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, they find ways. They find ways to innovate, just like I guess sports games kind of do. They try anyway.
Well,
It is EA, so
this year is just let's put mega packs in the store, which we've never seen before. That are
yeah,
£20, £30, £40 of your money, and that is our content.
yeah,
Actually, to be fair, their content's actually pretty good this year, but they have to because they're not FIFA. They
yep,
want to make a point that FC can stand on its own and we can make money
mm-hmm.
without it, but that's only because these packs are $30 each.
Yeah. I'd
Come
say
on.
we'll talk about that in its own episode. I got a lot of interesting theories on the whole how EA is handling FC now that it's not FIFA.
Hmm.
I, it's a very interesting conversation, but
It is
that'll
because
be it.
completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, again, I'm being hit with the sad news here. Naughty
Hey, come on.
Dog, Naughty Dog, Naughty Dog. Why have you done this? I mean, I didn't play much of the first one. I give it, I'm an FPS player, so like, I give it a go.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because of the trophies, which I didn't even earn. I gave up on them. I was like, yeah, I can't.
Wow.
All right, chill. But no, Naughty Dog have announced that The Last of Us Online has been permanently cancelled. Um, and they promised this since the game was released. Like, oh yeah, it's coming out. The factions. I don't actually think it was factions. I think it was just like a multiplayer was coming out, and they promised
Mm-hmm.
it from the start. I think they delayed it at the start. To be honest, I think it was supposed to come out relatively soon, and then they delayed it, and now they've just cancelled it. So I don't know. Like a lot of people who play factions will be disappointed. I'm not too upset by it, to be honest. Their online was good. I enjoyed playing it, but like the trophies, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
so glad that Last of Us Part 1 got rid of the multiplayer trophies and I'll actually be able to platinum the game when I play it. Um, but to continue with the news, they wanted to continue developing single player experiences because they believe in the future, if they carried on with the online, it would severely impact development for their future single player games. Which, you know what? Fair enough. I would rather see them be successful with like another single player game than to bring out something which is already there in The Last of Us.
Right. Yep. I mean, I feel the same way. They've given us Uncharted. They've given us The Last of Us, which I haven't played, but I know of its success and I see your eye roll, but I know of its success. I know how many people love it. Um, so I just I'm glad that they're deciding to stick with what they are so good at.
Hmm.
And as us, like as gamers, I know there'll be the group of people that are upset that the online is getting canceled, but I feel like the majority is probably going to be okay that they're going to focus on the single player stuff and bring us, game of the year candidates every time they drop. So,
Yeah, because the online for the first game was like a very much a side thing. Like
hmm
you played the first game for the story, like, and then
right,
you can play it on like grounded mode, which is insanely difficult. Um, but like again, trophy hunters had to play the online, and I'm pretty sure the trophies were insane. I didn't understand them when I played them, so
yeah,
again, I'm glad that the trophies for the part one are all single player, so that I'll actually go for them. Like for me, in the original game, there's no point me replaying the game on a harder difficulty when I knew I couldn't get the trophies anyway, because
right.
I didn't want to spend time on the online. Maybe that's because I didn't have people to play with, and I was just solo loading up. But maybe it was my fault. Didn't think about
Yeah.
that. But moving on to more online game, China is introducing new rules to combat spending in the video game market, and that's primarily in the online game market.
hmm
I'm just gonna reference what I saw in a Reuters post. I think it's Reuters. I think that's how I say it. Yeah, mate,
Yep.
I'm terrible with pronunciation, but the new rules, which will be effective, will be setting a spending limit for online games, and this sparked panic between the investors, and it wiped off. It says nearly 80 billion, but I've seen 50 billion elsewhere. I don't think they actually know the value.
Right.
Um, I'm just gonna say billions, so I'm correct. I'm not gonna say 80 billion because I saw 52. I've seen multiple different figures, so I'm just gonna say billions in the market for the China's two biggest gaming companies. Um, that's wild. Like they
hmm
combine something so small, really, like gaming, really.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of a bigger issue. It's like it falls under the umbrella. I think it's they're trying to combat like gambling as a whole. It's a serious addiction. I don't know how bad it is in China. I know it's bad here in the U.S. Don't know about the UK. Like,
Yeah,
do you guys have like an addiction helpline, gambling addiction helpline
yeah, of
over
course,
there?
of course.
Yeah,
Like I think every country has one because obviously, if you have gambling websites, you've got to have a helpline because people will be addicted. Like
yeah,
you get so happy when you win, but like you don't feel that when you lose. You just think, oh, my next win, my next win, my next win,
hmm
and then in the end, you check your bank account like, fuck.
yep,
Yeah. Luckily,
exactly.
I'm not too bad. Like I have had like past where I've like put a little bit too much on, but then I don't gamble for ages. Like I have like a
Right,
massive break. Like I've never been addicted to it. Um,
right,
but I am tempted. So like I kind of understand that they're putting a spending limit like eff- effectively on everyone. Like with some betting, I know this is betting, but like you can set your own. They're not giving you
hmm
the freedom to do that. They're actually putting the spending limit for you, and I think that might be beneficial for some people. But like, gotta let people spend the money how they want it.
right. That's the thing too. And also another like thing to look at is it's gonna take away a lot of money from it's like all these big companies, but at the end of the day, there's people working for those companies that like need to put food on the table. So it's just taking away potential money. Like I'm sure because of this cap, there will probably be follow up layoffs and that kind of thing. Like some companies will probably have to let go of employees, and it's just that's a tough side of it.
Yep. To be honest, that's not even a side that I thought about. So yeah, it's gonna have a knock-on effect. Um,
hmm
I mean, it's saving some people money, but it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be also reducing it.
Right.
Um, but online games will now be banned from giving daily login rewards, which is obviously an incentive to get people online every single day, which they've been combating anyway with like the limiting how much gaming that you're exposed to in China. I'm pretty sure that's been in effect for a very long time now,
Yep.
especially for students. Um, which I think is a good thing because I think some people are just exposed to video games too much that they're not focusing on their studies.
All
Um,
right.
I mean, I was probably on video games too much, but it didn't really affect my studies. I was doing my work. I just done it a
Yeah.
little bit faster. Like it was more of an incentive to get my work done faster to get online. So
So
yeah,
it definitely affected mine negatively. Like growing up, I was like a bookworm, kind of like straight A student. I mean, I finished pretty good still with like straight A's and B's, but it was more of like the getting the stuff done. Like it definitely affected like how I did school. I still did fine. I graduated. I had good honors and that kind of thing, but it definitely negatively affected it. So
I think it's also got an effect on people's time that they're still concentrating.
hmm
So like I know my concentration time went from a good like 30 minutes to like maybe even 10 now. Like there's so many times where I'll be listening and then I'll just like distracted.
oh
Distracted
yeah,
because of video games, like just because of the internet type of thing. Um so like getting rid of the daily login rewards, like with FC now, I feel like I have to log in every single day to do something because I get a reward. So I
right,
guess I understand why they're banning daily login rewards because you can log in and as I mentioned with FC, there's store packs there which cost $30. If I see that and go, oh my god, that's actually good value. I mean, it's good value
hmm
for in game, but I'm getting really nothing out of it. I'm just spending $30, £30. Next year, that's gone. So
right,
I don't know. I think it's
yeah,
a good thing, but then also a bad thing for games because like if you're not getting the numbers for daily logins, like you might be seen as like a kind of a failure.
right.
Um, again,
But,
knock on effect to
yeah,
stuff being released.
yeah. I do get it though. Like you're saying with the logins, I know 2K. I don't know if they still do it in this year. I haven't played my team in a couple years, but their
Really?
daily logins at the end, I think it was on Saturdays, they always had a chance to like spin the wheel for a good card, and that's always when they would drop their promos. It coincided, so people who got on to try to get that, they'd obviously be exposed to those new promos.
Mm-hmm.
So I completely get that, and it does make sense.
I guess games also need to make money though. For them
Yeah,
to provide good games, they need to make money. But
right.
these sports
It's a
games
business at
just
the end of the day.
yeah, these sports games just don't buy good games.
Yeah.
I said that really quietly so that they don't hear me. Um, but no, put it down in the comments below if you're on YouTube. Will you be affected from them removing daily logins? I don't know if it will affect us in the UK and the US and everywhere else in the
Right.
world. I don't know if it's just games made in China. But I feel like it's gonna have a knock-on effect to our games because if we want to provide China with our games, then they can't have daily logins, so they'll be at a disadvantage. So I
Right.
think it's gonna
Or
have a knock-on for us.
it it possibly, I wonder if it'll be anything like the movie industry where I know like major US blockbusters, if they go to say like the Middle East,
Hmm.
I know they have to cut certain parts out. I know, can't remember which movie it was, but like the same sex scenes sometimes. I know that they have to cut that out
Hmm.
when they take it to certain countries. So I wonder if it could be the same thing, like if it's just a different build of the game that will get sent to China, something
Potentially,
along those lines.
I
But
guess. But then you kind of can't like match make people
all
from
right,
outside of China because like if they're getting rewards outside of the game, like it's a disadvantage. So yeah, I guess there could be ways that you could just like match make China with only China or other countries that only have no login rewards. But it'd
right,
be interesting to see. Again, this is going to be into 2024.
hmm
So this will develop and we'll have a much bigger understanding because that happened today and they lost a
right,
lot of money. So
hmm
I think it's going to spiral a little. And something else which will probably cause games to lose money, in my opinion anyway, Sony may soon adjust game difficulty in real time based on your skill level. I think people will not buy games because of this. I think it's a bad idea.
I think it's okay. Like I don't think it's going to be a forced upon you type of thing. I don't think
Mm,
it's going to be permanent, like built into the system. I think it'll just be like haptic feedback and that kind of thing. I think it'll just be optional. If they do force it onto you, if it's like just a permanent thing built into the system, I think it's one of the worst ideas ever. But I cannot see it being that because I think you don't really need to be a mold like super knowledgeable about games to understand that that would just be a bad decision.
mm-hmm.
I think it'll be cool when it comes to certain games. Um, I mean, is it FC that supposedly does that this year? That has
No
like the
idea.
in-game difficulty thing. Maybe it's Madden. I have no idea. I want to say there's a sports game this year that has an adjustment in it, but I don't know how effective it is.
No, you're correct. It was leaked that in the weekend league games, it popped up like the AI has changed difficulty to pro because you scored and then world class if you score again. So yeah, you might be right. Just to make the games a
Yeah.
bit more difficult and make it more competitive in the weekend league. Um, so yeah, but I think that kind of got squashed underneath. Like, oh,
Okay.
that was just a visual UI glitch. Who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows? Um, but there was an example under the blog post that I saw, which was like, imagine you're playing a Souls-like game. It doesn't have a difficulty setting. Sony implement this to adjust the game difficulty. You're stuck on a boss. You've died 100 times, but now suddenly this boss is weak. It doesn't damage you really. You kill it. Whereas before you'd be like, get in, yes, finally I done it. You'd be there like, okay, well,
Right.
like the game's just made me beat this. Like it wasn't a challenge anymore. Like
Yeah.
it just gets rid of that thinking, the emotion behind video games. If you're like really good at games, then maybe this will be good. I guess it'll be more for like the pro gamers. Like game difficulty being increased to your skill level might make it more of a challenge. Whereas like for casual, this is terrible.
Right.
Absolutely
I
terrible.
get that. I think it's a we'll have to see situation, see how games implement it, see how Sony implements it.
Hmm.
Um, because I can only wonder too if games won't have it just as an option, like when you go to select your difficulty,
Hmm.
if it'll just I don't know whatever Sony decides to call it, if that will just be an option, and then you can do a playthrough with that.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So like instead of like beginner, medium, hard, or whatever, it also
Right.
has at the top adjust game difficulty with your skills, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
As long as if it's an option for us to choose, I'm okay with it because people
Right.
can play games however they want. I just won't be picking this option because I'd rather it stay at the same difficulty all the way through. Because games progressively anyway get harder. Like you go from the
Hmm.
start, the games get easy, and then you go through it, and then you unlock some things to try and keep the game as easy as it was. But enemies get difficult, and then at the end, you're basically fighting like the big boss, which is always the hardest.
Okay.
Now, if it's adjusting the game difficulty, it could be the hardest at the start and the easiest at the end. That just doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's got to be kind of
Right.
a progression of difficulty that make it fun for me.
Right. I get that.
Because imagine fighting the first enemy and it's the hardest thing in the game, and then you're fighting the thing that looks the hardest and you kill it with one hit because you've sucked all the way through the game. You know? As
Yeah.
badly as I put it, you're terrible at the game, but you've killed the last thing first try because the game difficulty is that low for you. Like, it's not an achievement. Otherwise, I
Right.
would, I would just like for trophies, I would die so much at the start, and then just make it a breeze for me. Like, there's got to be something that prevents you from doing that. It's like
Yeah.
reverse boosting in COD, skill-based matchmaking.
Yeah.
You just get nukes on everyone who's really bad at the game because you've destroyed your KD in other ways that you shouldn't really be able to.
Right.
So yeah, that was a good discussion. I'm on the edge for this. I don't like it. I see why they've done it, but yeah, I don't like it. So
I don't know. I think it'll end up being a good thing. I think it'll be optional, and I think it'll be fine.
as long as it's optional. As long as it's optional.
Yeah, has to be. But now some other news, not necessarily gaming, but Hideo Kojima is partnering with A24, which I don't know. I don't know if you've seen any A24 films. They publish a bunch. It's not just horror films. I have them listed here because they're the ones I've seen. Hereditary, they publish Midsummer, Talk to Me, which is a newest one of the newer ones. But they're pairing together for the live action Death Stranding movie. So A24 is just known for publishing like out of the box, like just weird movies, just like one offs, unique ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it makes sense that it'll be with Death Stranding. Just weird meets weird. I feel like it could be good. So
No, that makes sense. I'm just having a look now. So they have Euphoria, the show with Zendaya.
mhm.
I've not watched it, but I mean, they've got some very good movies in there.
Yep.
It can only be a good thing, right?
Yeah, I think so. Hereditary, as far as I'm aware, it's I think it's my favorite horror movie besides maybe the newest It movies,
Mm-hmm.
but it is regarded as one of the best. Midsummer's okay, and then Talk to Me. I haven't heard too much on. I know it's made by is it Raka Raka, the brothers that were on YouTube? Um,
No clue, sorry.
no clue. Okay, they were around like the sidemen a little bit, but they actually directed that movie.
Okay.
So that's why I was like super intrigued by it. But they published that. I've heard it's super good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I
Just
don't
having
know.
a look at
I
it
think
now.
I think you can only need good things.
Mm-hmm. I'm just having a look at it now. So apparently in the box office, 91 million it got. It's the second book to me. So
Yeah.
the highest grossing is Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is a
Oh,
comedy
which
drama.
which if I'm not mistaken, broke the record for most. Is it Oscars? Is the movie Oscars? I should know that. One in a single show.
All right.
Like they swept up. I didn't know they published that movie. But yeah,
I didn't know either. I mean, I haven't really watched that many movies when they come out. Oppenheimer and Barbie are probably the only ones this year that I've actually went to the cinema and watched.
that's fair.
Um, yeah, movies wise, I just I don't go often, so I just play games, and this is why
Sure.
it's a gaming podcast. Because if it was anything else, I would be sitting here just there like, yeah. For those listening on Spotify, on YouTube, you would not have seen my expression there. Just think of someone looking empty and just not having a clue or what to say about a certain topic. That was basically my face. Um, and again, just want to say before we move on to the next news, we appreciate you listening, giving us some of your time each week. Again, we've decided this week to carry on uploading on a Monday, which is Christmas. So if you are listening on Christmas, thank you for taking some time out of your day to listen to us. It honestly brings us a lot of joy. We do this as a hobby. We do it because we love it, and it's a passion of ours. So again, thank you so much. And if you are listening and you like it, subscribe and follow. It means a lot. You can keep up to date with the podcast as they come and go. And yeah, I'm sure Ace feels the same way.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so the next news is more of the main topic, but I wanted to include it now because it is news.
Hmm.
The release date for the new South Park game, Snow Day, has been revealed for March 26th, 2024. Now, I didn't know this, and I don't think you actually mentioned it when you said there's a new game coming out. and it's a completely different style. That it was a co-op multiplayer. I don't think you mentioned that.
I don't think so. I didn't know it at the time, but I think I just failed to mention it.
Hmm. Does that mean that well, I have to play the first two, and we played that one together? I know you
Um,
mentioned in the Discord like we should do some co-op games and stuff, and obviously we struggled this week because of just how chaotic Christmas is and stuff like that. I know I mentioned
yep.
it at the very start to play some co-op games, and we just wouldn't
Hmm.
have the time. But I feel like we could just do like an hour a week or something like that, or more. Uh,
Yeah,
on South Park be the first one.
yeah. I'd be down for that. I kind of mentioned it before the podcast, but the art style is a big turnoff for me. But I'm sure I'll come around to it. I'm
Mhm.
sure it'll still be fun. It'll still have that comedy and the combat. At least from what I can tell on like just the art and the trailers, it seems to be kind of the same theme as the first one with the Dungeons and Dragons. Because I think Cartman has his like wizarding gimmick back.
Okay.
So I wonder if it'll connect more to the first one than the second. But who knows? We'll see.
Okay. I mean, the fact that it's just co-op, like we miss co-op games. Like there just isn't enough co-op games in the world.
Right.
Um, so I think that'll be good. The aspect that you mentioned, that the art style is changing, I think you'll forget about it as soon as you start playing with someone else who's just like the entertainment isn't just the game, it's the person playing with you as well. Like if they're making funny
Right.
remarks or like they're doing something stupid in game, like that's just the entertainment value is there as well.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I think that's the news for this week. There's some
Yeah.
good news, there's also some bad news. The
Yep.
news hasn't disappointed in the 3 weeks that we've done this podcast. We've
No,
had
it hasn't.
tons of just things to talk about, and I love it, and that's why we have it as like the first installment, because you
Hmm.
know we will keep you updated. Yay!
Yeah.
Updated on all the bad things that are happening in gaming and the good.
Yeah. All right. So now on to one of our recurring segments here on the podcast, the release of the week. We started it last week.
Hmm.
But Grubb, what is your release of the week this week?
For me, there wasn't that many games. I'm not gonna lie, like it seemed to be pretty empty from what I was looking at. So we have a lot of websites that we look through just to try and pick a release. It was
Hmm.
very empty. I think that's because they don't want to release a game just before Christmas and work over
Right.
Christmas doing updates. So this game came out on the 14th. So by the time this came out, 11 days ago, and that's House Flipper 2. Again, I love my Power Wash Simulator. I'm only like a bit of it in, but this is kind of similar. Where like you go into a house, you clean it, you modify it for like a client. I really need to play the first one because it looks so satisfying that you can like
Hmm.
go in, you clean it, and then afterwards you're just there like, wow, this is cleaner than my own place. Like maybe I should do some cleaning. But no, apparently a lot of the reviews are saying that House Flipper 2 is a lot better than the first game, and the first game was really good. So, if they've brought out and they've improved on everything that they had in the first one, then that's my release of the week.
Yeah.
What is yours? I think I already know what yours is. But
Yeah.
tell me.
Yeah. Mine. It's the new Mortal Kombat season. It's the
I knew it.
season 3. It's the season of the Cryomancer. It's a Sub-Zero focus season. Like I said, I'm about 50% through it. I'm loving it. It's still, I mean, they just keep improving. I will say though, it had a very horrible launch when it came out. Um, they actually had to shut the servers down for, I want to say it was like 7 or 8 hours, like completely down. Not even just invasions. It was a bug with invasions, where you could just go to whichever section, like nothing was locked, and you just would go into the mesa is what it's called, and just unlock everything for it. Um, so they shut down invasions, and then I think it was like an hour later they shut down all servers.
Oh, wow.
Um, so luckily I was at work. I tried playing it before work,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed the bug, and I was like, I'm not going to touch it because I don't want to unlock all the stuff, because that's the whole point of playing it for me, is the progression and unlocking. And then it was like, I think like 20 minutes before I was set to leave work and come home, that they finally put the servers back on. So I was okay,
Mm.
but the tons of people trying to play it day one, or yeah, I guess day one, it was rough.
I mean, them shutting down the service and you've still got it as release of the week. That's a low.
It's still a lot of fun. I love it.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. I mean, there wasn't that many releases to really beat it, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's why I knew that was gonna be your one, before you even mentioned it. Um, so yeah, let us know if a game came out this week that we've completely missed in the comments below. Now on to the main topic for today's podcast, which we mentioned before, is 2024 expectations, anything 2024 really. And we're going to start off 2024 with content based. So this can be individually, so like on our own personal channels, and then also give you a brief overview of what you'll see also on the podcast channel, because we spoke about it a little in podcast one. We just said we're kind of a gaming podcast, but we'll go into more depths of like deaths. Jesus, no
Yeah.
one's gonna die
That's
during
coming.
the making of the podcast. Just to reiterate, in more depth, there's a difference between the A and the P. Yeah, we'll go into more depth of like what to expect, especially in 2024, on this channel on Spotify as well. So I'll quickly make a start on this one if you don't mind.
Yeah,
'Cause
go ahead.
I have a good stable of what a 2024 will hopefully bring. Because 2023, I had a lot of plans which were postponed, had a massive break. So 2024 for me is like I must do this. Like I can't miss. Like I've got to commit to it. So next year I'm gonna try and commit to 3 streams a week and an editing day. Because this year now I'm doing like around 3 streams a week, but not having an editing day. Like none of my content's really being shipped to other platforms, which is never gonna help when it comes to discoverability.
Right.
Um, and for my streams, I'll have one main game, which will be like AAA, and then I'll also have a smaller game, which like at the moment, Power Simulator, and I think that'll just be like my go-to 3 streams a week, main game, small game, main game, like maybe like split them up. It's like
Yeah.
it would just be nicer, or I could just do 3 streams, do the main game 3 times, but then have like an hour at the end where I split off into doing the small indie game just to give myself a rest before going to bed or something like that. Because
Yeah.
imagine playing something which is quite heavy, going to bed. Yeah, that'll be pretty rough. So I think it's still ongoing what I'm going to be doing, but I know it's definitely going to be 3 streams. What about you?
Yeah.
Are you going to return to streaming?
Streaming is iffy. It's hard
Mm-hmm.
for me, at least. With just how my life kind of is and how my personal life works, with how many impromptu plans are made with like my family and friends and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're not very well, or I don't want to say well organized, but we don't plan too much. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of at the drop of a hat. But for sure with YouTube, I'm going to focus a lot on YouTube, and I've always wanted to like do series and just try to do series and have like a flagship series on the channel. But I think I'm realizing I want to focus more on like the quality over quantity. So instead of just making a series to make a series, ship it out,
Yeah.
I'm gonna like think of unique ideas. If they're longer videos, like almost hour long, like that's so be it. But I'm gonna try to make them unique and engaging. So posts won't be any scheduled time; they'll just kind of happen when I get enough footage or get the idea that I want done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then also focusing on, the podcast, which I'm sure you didn't mention it, but I know you're going to be doing it too. We're going to be always trying to improve this podcast and focusing on it. And then I am trying to like kind of step my foot in like gaming reviews and just that kind of thing. So
Hmm.
focusing on that. That's kind of my plan for it, at least to start with.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've got a really good plan. Again, what you said over quality over quantity. Not many people do it. I know I don't at times. I try and get as much out as possible because I feel when you're a new content creator, um, try and get as much out as possible so that people see it. But then those who focus on quality over quantity, people see the videos and go, "Wow," and then they wait for the. So I've definitely took the wrong approach at times where I've took the quantity. Um, but I guess they both have their own benefits. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
upload daily, the algorithm will be kind to you. If you post quality, then people are gonna be like, "Wow," and probably more likely to stay around. Because if you post too much, people will be fed up and just maybe unsubscribe because they don't want to see you in the sub box.
Right.
Um, yeah, I'm happy that you're going over the quality because there's such pressure. Like when you want to do something as like a hobby and stuff, you just want to get stuff out. Like your brain's so focused on like do this, get it out, get it out. But sometimes it's just good to slow things down, take a slower time, perfect it, and then ship it.
Yep.
So I like that a lot. And thank you for mentioning the podcast because I didn't. Obviously, podcasting itself, we're going to improve how we all like together. Like the partnership here is going to improve as we go along. I mean, we already have a good relationship from playing on like PlayStation Hunt Showdown. I mean, that's the reason why when I was thinking of the idea of the podcast, I was like, I know who to bring in for this. So yeah, but it's only going to improve. We're going to get better at how we present because obviously week one we were nervous. We were both very nervous. Like, oh, is it gonna be like any good? I think we performed better than we anticipated. Like the
Mm-hmm.
connection's definitely there. Still things to work on there. I mean the overlay and background. Maybe try and change them weekly just to keep it unique. I was going to do this week fairy lights around our names, but I just didn't have time because it's
That's fair.
Christmas. Um, but then game reviews. Again, if we play the same game, I I do want to like try and push game reviews, especially the games that come out in 2024, which
Yep.
we will come on to that, don't you worry. Definitely game reviews in 2024. We could literally put them on the podcast. But if you don't play a game and you know that you won't play it and I'm playing it, then you could say, oh yeah, if you want to do a review on your own. And same for you, if you play a game that I'm definitely not going to play, like maybe Tekken 8, if I'm going to be really honest. Uh, if you play it and you want to make a game review, you can always like ask and ship it onto the Power Podcast because at the end of the day, it's still the same type of content
Mm-hmm.
because you're not really going to have gameplay. I mean, you could, but
Right.
just talk over it. But no, I like your ideas a lot. I think 2024 is going to be an amazing year. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
I'm excited for it.
Um, I mean, you should be because like YouTube is difficult. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many times where I've started up on YouTube. Like, there's been like 5 startups now where I've taken massive breaks and then I've went back into it, and I've got into the routine of uploading, making content. I kind of love making the content. I'm not the best editor. Uh, all things considered, I'm very basic. I should probably learn more. But that's probably in my bucket list for 2024. Learn new techniques on how to edit. Uh, podcast, gaming videos, that type of stuff. Um, but there's a lot of things I need to redo, like my backlog list for PlayStation. I have like a list now which is just PlayStation, Nintendo, PC games, and I kind of want to just have a PlayStation one, just so I can
Mm-hmm.
put how many trophies they have, how many I've got, will I ever complete it? Because I have something like that now. And I'm pretty sure the last time I checked, there's 4,000 odd trophies for me to earn in the games I own. Your face says it all.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
kind of want to just put like how long it'll take. Well, they recommend it takes to earn them, just so I know like which games to beat my 21 platinums for this year. Because I want to beat it. I want to get at least 22 next year. That's also a plan. Then finally for like the content type thing, I know you've mentioned a lot about YouTube. I myself, since I took a break, I've not focused on YouTube at all. However, I have been like taking clips on Twitch, not YouTube, Twitch, which I want to start uploading onto YouTube again and having a consistent YouTube Shorts schedule. Because YouTube Shorts, they are insanely good for views. Like the discoverability on them is very good. You get a few subs, but I don't think they really watch long form videos. But I'll also be restarting my long form videos on YouTube, like trophies, and also I want to get back onto playing them games, which are PlayStation 2. Because one of my videos that I made before I took my break was an hour long of FIFA 02. I think it was FIFA 02. It's got 400 views because people like the nostalgia. So I think I'm gonna like it's the easiest content. I just put camera. I don't even have my camera on. It's just pure footage, and it's an hour. Just ship it straight away. It's really easy content. So that's what I'm gonna do in 2024. Hopefully you hit our links in the description. You follow us. You subscribe. Uh, even follow our Twitter. I don't really use Twitter. I use the PowerUp one more than anything. Okay, so moving on from the content, games that we want to play in 2024. So these aren't necessarily the games that are coming out in 2024. These are games that, as I mentioned, are in our backlogs. So Ace, for you, what games do you want to tick off that massive list of yours in 2024?
So in 2024, I want to kind of set myself, at least at the start of it, on this Nintendo journey. I haven't really played too many Nintendo games, but I'm really wanting to play Wonder and the new Super Mario RPG. And then just seeing all like the titles that they have out, just like I didn't know they made a new Donkey Kong game. I played the old Donkey Kong Country on the N64, I think it is. Um, I want to play I've never played a Kirby game. I've heard those are fun. And I think also, I know they're not Nintendo games, but I think I want to try the Lego games on Switch. I haven't really sat down and played a full Lego game,
Okay.
but I think I'll play them on the Switch. But mainly those Nintendo games like the Mario's, Donkey Kong, Kirby, that kind of stuff. That's at least at the start. That's what I'm going to set out to do.
Mm-hmm.
But what about you? What are you trying to cross off?
The fact that you didn't say The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild hurts a little.
Okay, I will say I have tried that. I don't like it. That's a hot take. I know. I know. I personally don't like it. I don't like the
Please
gameplay. I
don't
don't like
unsub. Please don't unsub.
the combat style. I know it'll be a thing with Nintendo because I think that's just kind of how it is. But voice acting is huge for me. So Zelda, with there being so much reading and very little voice acting, or whatever it is, it's just someone mumbling gibberish to sub in voice acting. Um, I don't know. It just takes me out of the game. So I didn't like it. I haven't tried Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know if it's better.
I've not played Tears of the Kingdom either. I bought it day one. Haven't played it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was during my massive break that the game came out pretty much, so I just didn't get around to it. And again, I've focused more on platinum hunting, trophy hunting, this year mainly on PlayStation. So I just haven't got around to even playing on my Nintendo Switch this year. Uh, but for 2024, I'm gonna start the year hopefully by playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake on hard mode. And that's only because I want to replay that game, platinum it, of course, before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes out on the 29th of Feb. Because that is definitely going to be a day one release purchase from me. Again, I've spoke about it last week. I've spoke about it probably the week before as well, because when it was announced, Final Fantasy
Mhm.
7, I'm all over it. All over it.
Okay.
The next one, I can see the smirk already. He's celebrating, and I mentioned it again. God of War. I want to play both of them this year. I set out last year to play Ghost of Tsushima. I played Ghost of Tsushima this year. So, I played the game that was on my list and I wanted to play the most. So, this year, I'm setting up to play both God of Wars. Uh, so that I can understand why Ace over here is losing his mind when he sees Kratos on a screen. Like, he's a child. He sees Kratos and he's like, yeah.
You're not wrong.
I know I'm not wrong. I saw it. I saw the evidence on Twitter. Now, if you haven't seen on Twitter, it was just a bunch of letters. It didn't make sense. Like, if aliens are looking down on Earth and the first things they saw was that tweet from the Power podcast, they'll be trying to decrypt it and not have a clue. They wouldn't have a clue. We would give them a really bad sense of what English is like. Um, and then also for 2024, I've brought in a new system now where subs can tell me or suggest a game, and I do a spin the wheel once I've completed the game that was previously suggested. So we've done Callisto Protocol, and then we got Lies of P from that. Once I've completed Lies of P, I'm going to spin the wheel, and it'll be an indie game this time round. And I said I was being Christmassy, so I let them pick 2 games for me to play, and if it picks 1 game, I have to play the other game as well. So there's a lot of games on that list so far, which have been suggested. So again, that'll just broaden my horizon of what games I actually play, because I have my set of games that I think I'd like, but someone could be well, you've missed this game and you've not got it on your backlog. You really enjoy it, so that's why I've opened it up for subs.
Along with the games that we're wanting to play in 2024, we obviously are going to be keeping an eye out and playing the ones that are coming out in 2024. January, I don't have anything highlighted. What's going to have you playing in January?
I mean, I'm not gonna necessarily play it, but the only game that caught my eye in January that was coming out was another Last of Us remaster. But they've stepped away from the Last of Us one. They're remastering the second game now. Mind blown. Yeah, honestly, I respect it. They're bringing a roguelike mode in as well. So they've definitely just saw what Valhalla done, and it's like, we'll do it. We'll do it. And there's also characters that you've never played before that are playable now. So I think that'll also be very good. I might get it. Um, but I didn't like the part 2, but it might force me to replay the game again and just think of it differently. Because obviously now I know what happens. I'm not gonna let the story affect me. Hate
Right.
the game. Um, but yeah, I'll probably be able to maybe appreciate the other people's opinions more, because I'm dead centered that it was worse than the first game. But there's people out there that think it was better. So I may be able to appreciate their point of view more if I play it a second time. So maybe I do play it. Maybe I do play it. But moving on to February, I'm seeing a list now that you put on. Holy, you are anticipating a lot in Feb.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League is the main one that I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Sucker for superhero games, and the Suicide Squad is just such a cool concept to me, taking villains and essentially forcing them to do good. So it's cool. Banishers Ghost of New Eden looks really pretty. It looks like it'll be super fun. Um, that one I'm not so sure that'll be like a day one purchase. I think Kill the Justice League will probably be one.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost of New Eden will definitely be like a wait for reviews, kind of see how it plays. Um, and then Skull and Bones, Ubisoft's, I guess, Sea of Thieves type game. Um, I haven't heard great things about the testing that people have done. People have said from what I was reading initially, like early last week, that some of the testers were honestly just quitting from boredom. It kind of seems empty from the sounds of it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but then also in February, I mean, I saw it on every list I looked, and about tired of hearing about this at this point. But what's coming out in February for you, Grubb?
Not like I've already mentioned it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like honestly, this game can't come out quick enough for me. Like hurry up. Just, I want it in my hands. In that podcast episode, when it comes out, I'm gonna have a disc version in my hand. I'll be like, I've got it. I've got it. Honestly, the fact that I never played a Final Fantasy game before, 7, and now I'm like, I want it. It's just crazy to me because I never thought I'd like Final Fantasy games. Like a friend of mine has played most of them, and he was just there like the really good games that you like single player. Like you probably should play them. I was just there like, nah, don't like the look of them. Again, judging something of how they look. Played it. Calm down. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I can't wait for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, as I've mentioned about a million times. So what we're gonna do in 2024 as well, going off topic. If I mention Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we'll add a counter, and if Ace mentions God of War, we'll also add a counter because I swear they're the two most things that we talk about here on this podcast, and we
Mm-hmm.
need we need a tracker. So if someone can count for us, I'm joking. I'm joking. Oh my goodness, you'll be here forever. Maybe into March. What do you have for March?
Beautiful segue, I want to say. Only thing that really catches my eye so far, obviously more projects can be announced, that kind of thing, but Rise of the Ronin, um, I don't know. I might be a day one purchase, but it's definitely one I'll be looking to play at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I know you noted down here too that they just recently confirmed that they're going to have difficulty options.
Yeah, and I think that's big. Because apparently I've not played a Teen Ninja Tale before. Uh, but apparently they're not designed for everyone to play because they're not easy games. But in a quote they've put, obviously Team Ninja Tiles are not designed to be easy for everyone to play, but we wanted to make this title more accessible to a wide range of players. We have developed 3 distinct modes of difficulty that players can choose based on their preferences. The first is for the narrative-oriented players who want to live history and play without too much difficulty. Then we have an intermediate mode for players accustomed to this kind of experience. I think that's gonna be like a little bit difficult, but like you also feel the story more. And then finally we have the more difficult fashion, which corresponds more to our previous games and which meets the needs of hardcore players and Souls-like fans. So in a sense, I really like this
Mm-hmm.
because you could play it the first time and then you'd be like, well, I really like Souls games, so like let's make it difficult for me. And I wonder if
Right.
that'll be a trophy to beat it in like the Souls like difficulty. Um 'Cause I think that'd be good because Ronin is kind of making me think of Sekiro.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Yeah, I could see that definitely being a trophy option, but I do like that's one of my biggest gripes. I mean, we've talked about it before. I think I might have mentioned it on the podcast, but Souls-like games not having difficulty, which I know that is one of the whole points to a Souls-like game. But at least for it just being an option for people like me, especially if you're trying to get into your first Souls-like game,
hmm
I mean, it will just bring more people to the game. I mean, it shouldn't really affect the hardcore fans. If you're a hardcore fan, you get upset that there's an option to make the game easier. That's kind of on you. But
yeah,
I,
I personally don't see a negative behind this because if you are a fan of Team Ninja, you've still got the option to make the game more difficult. Like the other games, they're not taken away from your playstyle. Like if you play the games and you're like, oh yes, I really want another game like this because it's difficult. Just because they're making easier options does not take away from your experience. But what it's going to do is make Team Ninja's games more wanted. Like people are gonna be like, okay, I struggled with their first game and I stayed away from the second one. But now I can play on an easier difficulty. I really like the format. I really like the art style. I really like the gameplay of the first one. I'm gonna buy this game. I'm gonna play on the easiest difficulty because I just want to experience the game. I think it's good. I really like it. Again, Soulsborne games I love as well, but that's because I know they're gonna be difficult. You go
Yeah.
into those games knowing, like, I'm not going into those games like, yeah, this is easy. I'm so good at video games. No, no, just absolutely not.
Yeah. I get that.
And then my last game, because basically after March, the release schedule for games in 2024 is very empty. We spoke about this earlier. Most of the games just don't have a release date yet. They've said they're in 2024, but they just don't have a release date. But in March, the Outlast Trials comes out, and that's a multiplayer Outlast game. My mates put it in one of the Discords, like, have you seen this game? We should definitely try it. We should definitely play it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And with me playing the first Outlast game, I'll give it a go. I'll probably watch some of it because it is out now, I think, for early access. Or it has been out. So I might give it a watch just to see like what the game entails. Because for that style of game, I don't really care about spoilers. Like horror games, like that. I couldn't care less because I'd rather not be scared. But yeah, that's the only game I'm really interested in March. And Rise of Ronin, of course. I think that'll be really cool, especially now with the difficulty, because I think I would be more of the intermediate player on the first playthrough, and
Yep.
then Souls, like if I really enjoy it.
Yep. That I will probably follow the same path there, minus the Souls like part. I will. I don't know if I'll like a game that much to torture myself that bad, but
I mean, for me, like I would never choose the easiest mode because I still want the game to be a bit difficult. Like I don't want it to just be like me walking through it because I like a challenge. Um, but like I know in the past I've played on the normal, and then if there's some trophies, I'll play on the easiest because then I've experienced the game on the normal, and then I breeze through it on easy. Like, wow. Like I do find it fun, like, and if there is collectibles on this game, on the Rise of Ronin, like it makes it a lot easier if you just have the easiest mode. So again, another good reason to have different difficulties, because imagine collecting 100 things when you're playing a Souls-like game.
yeah,
Ooh, that is gonna be painful, especially if there's like a massive monster or whatever in front of it and you can't beat it. That'd be so infuriating. So again, Team Ninjas, thumbs up from me. So we actually do have some games that haven't got release dates highlighted. We could have a lot of them, but we'll be here forever just mentioning games that could potentially be delayed. And again, like I mentioned before, uh most of the games are TBC. They might not even be released in 2025. So
right.
until 2025. No, but like they could be delayed. Like
Okay.
that's the difficulty here. I know you're trying to correct me, but like what I mean is like they have a CBA on the release date for 2024, but like that doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna be released in 2024. So like we could list a lot of games, but then we might be disappointed in 2024 when we're like, okay, this game didn't come out, this game didn't come out, this game didn't come out. Because
Right.
spoke about it before the podcast. A lot of developers are probably scared to just put an actual date in the calendars because the pressure on them, and then also if they do delay, then it's public knowledge that oh they delayed it. Whereas if you just keep it to yourself, like okay, let's actually delay it a little bit. we haven't actually put a release date, but they don't know that we're delaying. I think that also takes a lot of pressure off them. So going into the first game, The Wolf Among Us 2. You played this on stream, didn't you?
I did.
Okay,
I,
that's the only way I know the game.
yeah, I platinumed it on stream too. Not too hard. Telltale games are super easy to platinum as it is. But The Wolf Among Us, if you don't know what it's about, it is essentially characters from little nursery rhymes and kid stories thrown into a very dark, like murder investigation type story. You play as Bigsby, who is the big bad wolf, and he's the detective of this town. Um, it's I don't know, the whole story is so amazing, all the twists and turns, and it's so cool when you see a character you know from like a nursery rhyme or like an old movie you see, and you're like, oh, it's them, and then something tragic happens to them, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still fine. It's a cool concept. I love it, and I'm so glad that Telltale is back making games, and then B, The Wolf Among Us is getting a sequel because if you played the first one, the ending is there's like a post scene if I remember right. I don't know if it's post scene or in the actual ending, but there's a big cliffhanger at
Mm-hmm.
the end. So I'm glad it'll finally get resolved. Hopefully.
Well, maybe that's a game that I have to play as well in 2024 before the second one comes out, because I've wanted to play Telltale games because obviously they're easy platinums, of course. So I do want to play as many as possible, and they're really like they're not heavy games as well, so they could be like some of my side games that I do instead of like the main game. So yeah, definitely The Wolf Among Us 2. It rings bells for me. I want it, even though I haven't played the first one. Of course, I haven't played the second one. It's not out yet. Um, moving on. There's another sequel. Senora Saga. Is it
Yeah.
Senora? I don't know.
I sure. I haven't played the first one. I love the look of the first one. I just never got around to playing it. I don't know. I want to say it was only on Xbox when it first came out. I could be wrong in saying that, but I think there was like an outside reason as to why I couldn't play it day one. But it looks cool. It's a game essentially set in in the Donna Sanua. I don't know how to say her name. Her like own personal hell, and it's like a slasher game set in that, and it's just another super unique idea, and it's getting a second game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think it's one that I'll have to play the first one right before it comes out, so I can hype myself up for the second one and probably day one purchase.
Yep. I mean, one of my mods, B-Way, you're getting a shout out. They rave over Senora's Hellblade. They rave about it. They told me so many times to play it myself. Especially when it comes around to Halloween and October. They tell me I should play it. So again, maybe a game that kind of forced myself to play in October, ready for the second one. Or if the second one's already out, then maybe before then.
Yeah,
Um, and then the last one we have in the list, so we kept it at 3 just so it's short, because again, we could talk for hours on games that are supposed to be in 2024, and that's The First Descendant. No, I
yeah.
haven't got much to say for this game though.
There isn't much info. I don't know if there's much out at all public. I just know it was the trailer that came after The Last Sentinel
Hmm.
at the Game Awards, and it was kind of funny because like they kind of look the same. It seems like the same type of setting. So people are like, "Oh, it's just a second trailer for the same game." No, it's a different game. It's the First Descendant. So it's another one that I like the look of it. More info when it comes out. We'll kind of decide if I purchase it, but
Hmm.
definitely an interesting one to note down.
Yep. And I mean, we said during the Game Awards that our wallets are going to be absolutely empty by the end of 2024. So, I mean, there's a lot of months that we need to fill for us to purchase. So yeah,
Yeah,
again, as we go through the year with the podcast, we'll have the release of the week, and we'll also mention in like the news when games are going to be released and stuff. Um, so we'll always have constant updates. We'll also, if people want, we could have like a game tracker down below in the description as well. That would be our own, because let's be real, there's probably tons online that you could just use. So we'll do the ones that we use so that you can keep up to date with us as well. Um, And then you could also use that for when we ask what your release of the week is, because again, we're always interested to see what people are playing. Because we play some things, but you might tell us, "Oh, I've been playing this game and it's really good," and then we try it and go, "They weren't lying," type of thing. So yeah, I think that's it for the main topic. Again, like we said, pretty short. With 2024 and not much being leaked yet, so being out on certain days. I guess we just spoke about what our plan was for the future. I mean, for podcasts, weekly, we're not changing that. Mondays, the time of day when it releases just honestly depends for when the podcast is completed. It could be 2 p.m. or 8 p.m. I'm gonna set like it's either or. So if it's not out by 2 p.m., it's definitely gonna be out by 8 p.m. Honestly, just depends on how finished it is. But I think I'm gonna primarily do 8 p.m. unless I'm itching to press send, because then people from the UK can listen to it a little earlier. But no, I think that's it. We're gonna move on to a new segment here on the channel, which we're gonna do weekly. And let me give some context to what this is. We're gonna call it game for this week. We'll figure we'll figure something out. And we'll call it a fancy name. So if you can have a name for it in the comment section, you have a suggestion for it, let us know. Yeah, down below. So essentially, our game is going to be one of us is going to have a certain item, character, game, franchise in our noggin, in our brain. And essentially, they're going to give us 5 clues. The first clue being the most obscure. So that could be like, the clue I give was, what is 314,000 kilometers away from the Earth? The next one is like people think it's made of cheese. It shows that it controls the tides here on Earth. We landed on it in the 60s, and it orbits the Earth. Like, and Ace would guess.
The moon.
Oh, okay. I was hoping that you would say something else just to laugh at you, but Ace is correct. So basically, we have 5 clues, and if the person who's guessing can guess it, they get a thumbs up because we get a 1 on our name, and we'll do this over the air and we'll do a tally. So obviously this week is going to be just like a teaser. We'll start the scoring from next week for the whole year. Obviously there's going to be 26 opportunities to get a point, and at the end we'll do a leaderboard, and it's like, okay, Grubb got 26. He's so good at video games. Ace got 1. He really needs to know more. Or my clues need to be a little better. So this week, Ace is the one who picked the subject, and I will be listening in, trying to find the clues. I actually have a notebook here because I do not want to miss out on any of the clues. So whenever you're ready, Ace, fire away with your first clue.
The first clue is I am a character from one of the top 7 selling video game franchises of all time.
Link.
No.
Okay.
All right. Now, for Spotify, this clue, we'll talk about it after, but appearance is important. I made my first appearance in 2007 in the 4th installment of the series.
Made your first appearance?
First appearance. And if you want context behind that, I can give it to you.
In 2007. Fourth game.
For Spotify listeners, I did air quotes with the 4th.
COD 4.
Okay.
It's COD 4. Captain Price.
No. This third clue is not that great because you've already narrowed it down to COD. Third clue is I am from Call of Duty.
Nice. That's a great clue.
Okay.
Soap. John McTavish. Am I
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Get in there. We did it. We did it,
I
everyone.
I think because of how early you got it too, when we go to do the scoring, that should matter
Oh, so I get 3 points.
because you heard 3 clues.
Gotcha. And then obviously if you do 4, then you get 2 points if you have 5 clues. Okay, I like that thinking as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am just a genius.
Yeah.
As soon as you said fourth game, 2007, I knew it was COD 4.
Good on you for that. I had to look pretty much all of that up, essentially.
Oh
I
really?
knew nope. And because I knew uh the next clue I know because it's like I don't know, it's one of my first like burned in my skull gaming
Mm-hmm.
memories. I tragically passed in 2011 in the third installment of Modern Warfare.
Oh, I would have got that easily then. And what's the easiest?
And that I am named after a cleaning bar.
Nice. Nice. I think you could have made it harder in the fourth one by just saying I am the fourth installment of the game.
Yeah.
Because when you said 2007, I knew instantly COD 4 came out in 2007. So yeah, nice. I enjoyed that. Are you looking forward to your one next week? I
Yeah,
still haven't thought about anything.
I'm nervous, but yeah, and that's the thing too. As this goes on, we'll get a better gauge of how hard we should make the questions each time.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I mean, that's good feedback. Maybe I should have taken the 2007 out of there,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
Well done.
no, that's
That
fun.
was good.
It'll be a good little ending segment to our show. So
Mm-hmm. And again, it just gives well, gives us something to do because obviously we're always looking to improve, and having something competitive at the end, like people will be here like, was the person like, you can guess along with us as well, and then because we're not gonna put on screen or tell you right away what the character is, so you can guess along with us and then say how many marks out of 5. Like if you got on the first one, you got 5 marks. Like you could just tell us, oh, that was easy. I got it straight away. So again, it's just something to collaborate with you all as well. And if you did get this week's, I mean, obviously, I said it in guest 3, so kind of took it away from people if they weren't. Maybe we do something where like I think I know it now, but then you do the other guesses. But then
yeah,
again, I don't know.
we'll we'll
We'll
figure it.
think. We'll figure this out. But that'll be it for episode 3 of okay, Under please sponsor us. For those on Spotify, have got no clue. However, the video is on Spotify, so you can actually watch it on Spotify, which I didn't know was the thing. Um, so yeah, I've actually watched my own podcast on Spotify. I give my own views. Someone's got to watch it back and make sure that it's okay on Spotify. There we go. Fireworks. But again, thank you all for listening in, watching if you are actually watching our faces. I know it's on Christmas Day, but again, podcasts are there to be listened to whenever. So it's, even though we're uploading this on Christmas, you could be listening to this in August 2024. I mean, you could list our expectations, go, well, that didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen, and then be like, oh, this is because it was made in 2023. So yeah, podcasts are there to be listened to whenever. Like, it's not like live content where, you know, you can miss it. Like you can listen to this in your spare time, and that's like, that was my goal when I was thinking of it. Like at the moment, my content is mainly, you've got to be there at this time, and then if you've missed it, like you can watch the VOD, but it's not really the same. Whereas a podcast, you could be out and about with headphones on and just listen to it. Cause my friend was like, he doesn't listen to music anymore. He only listens to podcasts. So like, I feel like market for podcasts is,
Yeah,
it's going up.
for sure.
So Ace, before we end, where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube at AceTheTurtle. Same with IGN playlist. I know last week you got those in the description. It looks like you made a playlist too. It's just a way to keep up with what we're playing, what we're looking at playing, and then for me, that's where I'll be posting like my written game reviews, something that I'm going to be focusing on in 2024. And then obviously the PowerUp podcast Twitter. That's where I mainly tweet if I do tweet. So,
I
what
think
about you?
I think we both need to start tweeting more again, because we went through a phase where we just kept tweeting, but again, we've been busy over this Christmas period that I just haven't tweeted. And I haven't really been on Twitter much, so definitely something that I need to start doing more. But you can find me on Twitch at GrubbPlays, YouTube at GrubbPlays, Twitter, GrubbPlays. And that's basically it. Again, everything will be in the descriptions on both Spotify and YouTube. So make everyone's life easier so that you don't have to remember off the top of your head. Again, if you do like the podcast, you like what you're listening to, you've been here for around an hour and a half. So I hope we haven't wasted your time. If you could, leave a like. This helps massively. There was a report that says that likes actually do a lot for the video. And if you're on Spotify, mobile, you can rate the podcast out of 5. I still need to do that because I don't have Spotify on my phone. Ace is shook. I only have Spotify on my desktop, so yeah, I need to do that. I need to rate out of 5, and if yous could do it again, I think that'll greatly improve how often it gets suggested to people's homepage, as well as obviously homepage in YouTube. Again, it's been an absolute pleasure to host the Power Podcasts, and we'll see you on New Year's Day. It's incredible. 2 days, which is massive holidays. There we go, confetti. You're gonna end every single episode with like a different effect, aren't you? Because you do it on your phone. But
Sure.
goodbye, everyone. Take care. See you next week.